We can't say the future without AI. I mean, there's no way around it. 50% of workers now believe AI is going to improve their experience. When I come into the meeting room, I need a way to incorporate my AI with what's going on in the meeting. It's almost a bring your own AI type of a concept. Most of what we do in our day-to-day is going to change significantly.
Hear the latest AV trends and predictions in this episode of Crestron's Smarter Spaces podcast on your preferred podcast platform.
Well, the one thing that stood out to me in Steph's article is that she identified herself as a curmudgeon. And I have a problem with that because I think that's cultural appropriation. I'm a curmudgeon.
Okay. Hey.
This reminds me of the life of Brian.
I'm Brian of Nazareth. What? Yeah, I'm Brian of Nazareth. Take him down. I'm Brian of Nazareth. I'm Brian. I'm Brian. Look, I'm Brian. I'm Brian. I'm Brian, and so's my wife.
DVLED is growing globally, running down what came from Zoomtopia 2024, and Barco sues Yealink. All that and more next on AVWeek. This is AVWeek, episode 687, recorded Friday, October 18th, 2024. You lose. This is AVWeek, the weekly wrap-up of the biggest news and information we have gathered. My name is Tim Albury. I am your host. With us to discuss that very news, first and foremost from the UK, Ifat Chaudhry from Involve. Welcome, ma'am.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Also with us is Brock McGinnis from Nationwide up in Toronto. Welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tim. I am living the AV dream.
And happy belated Canadian Thanksgiving. If you're not familiar, for those of us in the States, Thanksgiving happens at the end of November, but for Brock and his Canucks, they celebrate. Actually, it's around what we celebrate as Indigenous People Day and Columbus Day, right?
Yes.
And last but not least, a young man that I got to connect with. He's typically in Singapore. Today he's in Bangkok. Neil Stephenson, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Tim. Great to be here. Looking forward to this.
Absolutely. And for those of you keeping score, we're doing this at 8 o'clock in the morning my time on Friday. Typically, we record AVWeek at about noon or 1. But Neil's a bit ahead of time for me, so it's evening for him. I appreciate him staying up. And this is actually, it's kind of nice because it's all international. And yes, Canada is still technically international for the U.S. As Brock shakes his head vigorously. First story comes to us from AV Magazine. Barco has initiated legal proceedings against the Chinese firm Yealink in the European Unified Patent Court. Barco alleges that Yealink has infringed on patents related to its ClickShare conference product. Now, a couple things. Number one, this is not the first lawsuit that Barco has ever filed. In fact, for those of you who went to ISE, I want to say it was 2018 or 2017, they actually had the police come in and take product off the show floor. So this is not Barco's first rodeo on this. European action follows a similar lawsuit in the U.S. last year, where Yealink admitted to infringing on Barco's intellectual property. Barco's move leverages the newly established UPC, which enables enforcement of unitary patents across multiple EU member states. Barco licenses their patents to a wide range of companies for their stable of patents, which now includes over 110. You can actually, I'll give Mitchell the link to this. You can find a list of those partners on their website. Brock, we're going to start with you on this. Quite simply, who wins and who loses when manufacturers fight like this in court over patents?
We lose. So resellers and users lose because users don't have a choice. And, if I go back to the Clear One Shure ceiling mic patent fight, the users definitely lost. And that patent to me seemed to be defined not by what the microphone did, but what it was. It was a in-ceiling digital microphone. I think that if Barco, in fact, has unique intellectual property that is enabling their ClickShare system to do what it does, then all power to them, because people shouldn't reverse engineer and steal that. Yeah. But if it's a case of, we have a patent on wireless conferencing from laptops, I really object to that, because I want to buy from Crestron, and I want to buy from Kramer, and I want to buy from Yealink, and others that offer similar functionality, and not being tied to a single vendor in order to get what has become mission critical utility in every meeting room that we're doing.
Now, really quickly, I know Crestron for a fact is one of those partners. So they do license the technology from Barco. Every air media that is sold, there is a license agreement with Barco. The list is exhaustive. I did go through it this week. I do not remember all of them. So if you want to, you can dig into it. You can also go dig through their patents, which was also exhaustive, and I think I fell asleep reading them. So, in fact, same question to you. Who wins and who loses?
I absolutely agree with Brock. I think especially when you, as an integrator, want to come across as impartial and you want to give a range of solutions to your end users, your customers. You can't. There's enough business for everybody, and at the end of the day, that choice, there will be. I mean, we saw it with the iPhone and Samsung as well, right?
Yep.
It's always happened, but I 100% agree with Brock. It actually makes it's a shame for end users. It's for our buyers, for the choice that we can give them. And when we use that statement, other brands are available. Well, no, they're not. So why would you want to close the market? I think if you've come up with something, get the competition out there and prove that your product stands up against the competition.
Bingo.
Neil, a little bit of a different question here. What if as Neil does a lot of consulting and integration and stuff, if you're consulting Barco, or quite frankly, you're consulting Yealink, what is the ideal outcome of something like this, where Barco is either looking for a license agreement from the Yealink, or just tell them to go away and stop doing this? So from a customer standpoint, from an integrator standpoint, from an industry standpoint, what would be the most ideal outcome of this lawsuit?
I think the most ideal outcome would be something similar to what with the Crestron and Barco when they settled. What we saw then is that we didn't, in the market when it was here, is that there was more opportunities there for people to use those dongles or those pucks in the meeting rooms. Previously, it was just a Barco option at that time. And then once they actually settled with Crestron, there was more options for consumers around that. So I guess it is just a step in the process. I'm sure that there was similar talks when in other lawsuits, and this is probably just lawyers getting more money and then settling eventually on it would be the hub.
Now, come on.
I think it was a simpler discussion, Tim, when Barco was just in the wireless conferencing and presentation business, but they're now in the meeting room bar business and the camera business, and they are now direct competitors with all of those other folks, and it's, to a certain extent, it's restraint of trade.
Okay, so hang on for a second. I'm going to make an overarching statement, and I'll just say it, and I'll get yelled at later. Everybody is in the video bar business. Like I can go down to Quick Trip, which is our local convenience store, and I can get a video bar. Somewhat facetious. Give them a second. But everybody's in the video bar business. I mean, that was one of the jokes of Infocom and ISE this year. I don't know. All right. Next story. Last week was Zoomtopia, and our good friend Steph Beckett from Rave Pubs wrote a piece about it. It was their annual showcase. Last week, it was the company pretty much focused on artificial intelligence. CEO Eric Yuan's keynote heavily emphasized the company's AI Companion 2.0. It's set to launch later this month at no extra cost, quote unquote, for paid plans. While Zoom touted features like smart meeting agendas and task management, some folks were both posting and writing saying that the updates feel a little bit more redundant than revolutionary in today's AI-saturated market. The event, typically known for its vibrant in-person atmosphere and celebrity appearances, struck a more subdued tone. Despite introducing customizable AI add-ons and improved privacy measures, some attendees felt Zoom missed an opportunity to truly innovate beyond AI, raising questions about the company's direction in an increasingly competitive digital workspace. if I'm going to start with you on this, the article that Mitchell's going to link to, they have a list of all of Zoom's releases last week. If you look through the list, 90% of them have the word AI in the announcement. So basic overarching question is, what was the biggest takeaways from Zoomtopia last year for you, or last week for you?
I unfortunately missed the keynote, and it didn't feel like I was going to be missing out on anything. That was how I felt. And I caught up with some of the people were tweeting, and although I'm not active on X anymore, I do keep a little eye on it. I lurk for this kind of thing, just to see how people are responding. And I just didn't feel like previous years where you think you got excited and you thought, there was no FOMO for me. And I have to kind of agree with the AI. I completely get that there are lots of benefits, especially for things like meeting summaries and transcriptions. There's a lot of use for AI in Zoom. But there are genuine concerns around privacy, around accuracy, around bias, about how much people are reliant on. Is it making people lazy? Where they're not engaging in those meetings. They'll rely on the summary, which might not actually pick up what they needed to get out of it. So. I kind of looked at the list and sort of went, and there was nothing that actually stood out that made me feel that that there was anything really new. And I love the energy. Zoomtopia always comes. All the speakers will have huge energy, and they'll pat themselves on the back, and they'll be, well, hey, go us. But I wasn't feeling it this year. I'm very sorry to say.
So I'm going to pull on something here, and I'm going to get Neil and Brock's input about what their takeaway. But let me ask this overarching. I wrote a piece after ISE and Infocom both this year. This is not ISE's fault, and this is not Infocom's fault. So don't misconstrue what I'm going to say. Neither of those shows had an overarching, oh my goodness, technological advancement moment. There was nothing on the show floor that I walked out of there going, holy cow, everybody has to know about this, right? There was nothing that was like, boom. Are we just there? Is that where we are as an industry, whether it's Zoom or it's, XYZ manufacturer, where we've just kind of, we've hit a plateau as far as technology goes?
It kind of feels that way. It's felt like that for some time, I think.
What was the last product that really made you stood up and say, wow?
Transparent OLED, but that's been 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Wireless conferencing, the ability for BYOD, for a user to come into a meeting room, plug in a little dongle of whatever shape, size, or color, and put their Teams or Zoom or Meet meeting on the air from software hosted on a device they already know, trust, and love. And that changed the AV business immensely. If Barco, in fact, invented that, God bless them, and I'll take back every bad thing I ever said.
I mean, something I'm looking forward to, and I've got a bit of an interest in, is Auracast, when that actually hits. I think that will have wow, whereby anyone who has their own headphones will be able to, especially for people with hearing impairments, will be able to tune in with their own device and once that becomes, when it rolls out, which I think over the next few years it will, imagine if you're a student and you're in a lecture theatre and you're not having to tune in to you can just use your own headphones, your own headset, and Bluetooth in. Or if you're in a bar and you're a sports bar with various events on, you could just tune in to the one that you want to hear.
Yeah, there's a company called Mix Halo that is doing that. You have an app on your phone, and not only can you listen to that lecture over your own headset, you can listen to it in the language of your choice with near instantaneous, simultaneous translation.
That's a wow for me, because that helps the individual.
Yeah.
So that, when that rolls out on a bigger scale, that would give me a wow.
Neil, we'll give you your shot at what was one or two things that you pulled out of Zoomtopia, and nothing is a fine answer to.
Well, this is the first time I could actually, I'd put down on the calendar to attend Zoomtopia. Reading Steph's article, I was a little disappointed that I missed out on the celebration of happiness and Nelly concerts. But I guess I'm not attending a Zoomtopia event to get that. I'm getting there to try and learn some more things about the features. And I think on the UC part of it, which is what I was trying to find out, learn more things, understand more things, there wasn't really many things that were announced or we learned for. So I left kind of feeling a bit flat. Personal level, keen to see how this Zoom AI companion works. I think when looked it up after that, but on the UC environment, it was I didn't really have anything new out of it. From like a design or a sales perspective, the sales like a Zoom AI or Docs or Office 365 is really a different group of people that you're selling or designing for. And so I guess there's a mix for Zoom there. You've got the UC people and you've got them trying to sell the AI and the Docs part of the world as well.
Yeah, that is a different animal and that's a different customer, to be frank. Brock, same kind of question here is what's one or two things that you highlighted from Zoomtopia?
Well, the one thing that stood out to me in Steph's article is that she identified herself as a curmudgeon. And I have a problem with that because I think that's cultural appropriation. I'm a curmudgeon.
Okay. Hey.
This reminds me of the life of Brian. My name is Brian, and so's my wife.
The other thing was an article that David Danto published this week, which was excellent perspective on AI in a meeting. He wrote that he had been in a technical meeting where they relied on AI to record some very detailed technical information that he was looking at for a consulting study he was working on. And all he received was a summary.
Yep.
That and so you know, the reliance on AI is always going to be based on the individual's personal experience, and as soon as something like that happens, it'll be never again. And you know, we've experienced this over the years when training people to use new meeting room equipment. You know, new features, new stuff. If their initial experience is not delightful, it doesn't, It doesn't resonate with them immediately. If they don't feel confident with the new technology, they are not going to use it. And they are going to revert to, forget this wireless thing, I want to plug my laptop in because it works every time. So those were the 2 points. I don't care about Zoom or Teams. We don't sell software. We will provision rooms for whatever our clients want to use. We love it when they switch between one and the other because it's a great revenue boost. But you made a great point, Neil, that you're designing for very different people when you're designing for Zoom people versus Teams people. I don't think there's any Nelly at a Teams conference.
I don't know. We'll see. They are combining their annual get together this year. It happens the 19th or 20th of November. Typically, Microsoft would say they have one event for partners and manufacturing partners and resellers, and then they have another one for end users. They are combining them this year. I believe they're calling it Ignite. And we'll see. And stop hating on Nelly. Nelly's a St. Louis guy. Just saying. You know, he's a very nice young man.
I would love to have seen him.
And he is young because he's younger than me. All right, last story comes to us from, actually, there's a number of different places. The one we're using is from Innovate. The global LED display market saw robust growth in 2023, expanding by 6% to reach $9 billion, with a B, US dollars in sales, according to a recent report by Future Source Consulting. LED video displays continue to dominate the market, with the Asia-Pac region, including China, maintaining its position as the largest market despite slower growth. Americas emerged as the fastest growing region, while Europe and the Middle East and Africa also showed increased momentum. Ultra narrow pixel pitch technology, they're experiencing rapid adoption. That's expected to surpass the $1 billion mark by 2025. The report highlights positive trends across various sectors, with stadiums and venues leading the way, followed by corporate and education. Looking ahead, Future Source projects the total LED display market to reach $20 billion by 2028, driven by technological advances and expanding applications in sectors such as media, advertising, and broadcasting. Neil, we start with you on this. What does the rise in LED sales generically as a segment say about the overall health of the AV industry?
Yeah, from that article, Tim, I think there was one interesting was the slow in growth in sales outside of China and APAC. Generally, when we go attend any Infocom conference, we've always thought that APAC is the growth engine, and it's growing savagely. What I think may have happened in the last year is that we've had a couple of larger markets. India and Indonesia have gone through election cycles, and what we tend to find is that politicians are kind of more focused on being re-elected in that year rather than on economic development, and maybe take their eye off the ball. So we take Indonesia, for example. They have a new president. It's a country of 270 million people. Its economy is about 70% the size of Texas. Their new president starts his first day of work of his new term on Sunday. So there's a big expectation that he's got to follow up on the promises and the spending that needs to drive that country forward. And so there's a big push on digitalization, urbanization, smart cities. An example of their biggest, probably in that kind of region, is like their new capital, which is a $32 billion project. They're building a new smart technology and green-focused capital out in the middle of Borneo. So focuses on spending like that, we're going to see more trickle-down effect to LED sales, AV projects in the corporate and education as you go through. And Indonesia that's an example of Indonesia, but we also find that urbanization in Malaysia, Thailand, India, we've still got a lot to catch up on the rest of the world. And so AV projects and by extension LED sales are going to be strong in those markets going forward. I think from that article or from other research, they're looking at about a growth of about 11%, so higher than the average there, across those different markets.
Brock, same question. What does this mean about the industry?
So what surprised me about the article was how low the growth was. Certainly in the Canadian market, we are seeing more and more and more and more LED, and we're hanging these 136-inch projection replacement screens everywhere. There's the first round of replacing larger 4 and 6 mil screens with 1.5s and 2.5s has started to happen, and so it surprised me overall that the growth was with the prices down so much, that the growth had changed. The fact that ultra narrow pixel pitch was only 5% of that total makes me wonder how they're going to reach $1 billion in 2025. But Future Source, I guess, is in the crystal ball business. They're selling magic, and I don't know if ultra narrow, by their definition, is under a mil or not. That product is still pretty darn pricey. We're not seeing a lot of uptake other than from high-end corporate clientele. But the narrow pixel pitch, the 1.5 stuff, and 1.2 now is running off the shelf.
So really quickly, because you used a phrase there that I hadn't heard before, and I'm gonna steal it, Brock. Projection replacement screens. Even in those instances, you're not seeing ultra narrow pitch.
1.5. So
okay.
So 136-inch screen, which is a kit that's offered by just about every manufacturer, is native high definition, 1080, and is also about the tallest screen that we can fit in a standard commercial building underneath the ceiling height. And so it fits really well, and it's in many cases it's replacing 113-inch projection screens, and the users just love them because the contrast is so much higher. The windows don't have to be closed, or the shades rather don't have to be closed, and those products have come down. I don't know about in your market, Neil, but I have to think that $25,000 is probably a generic cost, and they're stocked everywhere. I can literally go and pick one up this morning and have it installed this afternoon, and 2 technicians can install one in less than an afternoon and still have time for beers. So it's that to us is the bulk of the market, and I think that university classrooms and colleges will be the next wave when their first generation of feeble little laser projectors start dying out.
But at 25 grand, though, that price is going to have to come down because, again, I used to be a tech manager. It's been 10 years. So if I extrapolate and add inflation on, we didn't pay 25 grand for our projection and screen system, though, Brock.
You cannot put a price on delight.
Tell that to a college president, brother. All right, if that you'll have the last word on this. What does this say about our industry in general?
Funnily enough, when Brock was speaking, I was thinking about the installation impact and how easy it is to install. And I was going to say they still have time for tea, but yeah, beer will do. It is easier, but price is an issue, and we're not seeing the growth on the high end. People will ask for it, so we've quoted it. And then they look at the price and they just come down to. So I would say 1.5, 1.2 at a push is probably. You'll see more of that, but you can't really move for seeing displays. There are displays everywhere you go in places that you just wouldn't even think that needs a display now has gone digital. So the expectation has gone up. And so from that point of view, yeah, I agree with Brock that actually you'd expect it to be higher, the growth to be higher. And it just isn't. And I think the barrier is price. Chip on board might push some more. But I mean, I recently quoted some DVLED, and the quote's sitting there.
The other factor, Tim, could be the overall spend in the AV industry. Judging by the number of what the folks on the bottom end of my screen would call redundancies, layoffs and dismissals in the industry, which has been significant by significant manufacturers. I have to think that the flow through of product from the manufacturer to the end user has overall slowed considerably, and that numbers may be down, and we'll never get that from Avixa, and maybe not from FutureSource either, because they're both selling dreams for the investment community, but
other dreams are available.
Yes.
I like that thought. Other dreams are available. That's a good place to stop. All right. Thank you, guys. Brock McGinnis, how do people connect with you or Nationwide, sir?
I am Brock at Nationwide AV, and occasionally, I'll troll my at Brock McGinnis Twitter, and I'm there on LinkedIn as well. So easy to find. Google me, arrest records,
That's from the 80s. After a few decades, they'll go away, right?
You think so?
Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not in Canada. Ifat Chaudhry, thank you, ma'am. How do people connect with you?
LinkedIn is probably the best place. So Ifat Chaudhry on LinkedIn. My Twitter is at IFC, and so yeah, I'm sort of there, lurking, waiting for better times. But I've remembered, Tim. You can also watch the What If post. God, I can't even speak. Sorry, Mitchell. You can watch the What If podcast on YouTube if you look up at What If AV. That's 2 F's as a play on my name.
Neil, lovely to have you, sir. Thank you so much for staying up late for us. How do people connect with you?
Thank you, Tim. If you're looking for help in the Asia-Pacific region, you can contact us at our website, which is avitsecurity.com. And on LinkedIn is where you find me mostly. during the day. So look forward to catching up.
For me, for Tim Albright, don't follow me anywhere because I will. I usually say I'll complain about the Bears, but there's not. I am still cautiously optimistic about my American football team.
You've got a quarterback.
We've had yes.
All hail Caleb.
Yes. Again, I've been a Bears fan long enough that I'm still cautiously optimistic on that. And he was in Ifat's neighborhood last week and did a fine job. The Bears played in London, so. But if you're interested in my random thoughts that have nothing to do with technology, you can connect with me on LinkedIn. I have been doing some writing on there, so you can check me out there. But more importantly, go by the website, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. You will find this program and a host of others. And oh my goodness, Mitchell has been very busy this week. We've got 2 new podcasts this week. First, we've got EdTech, episode 123. Where they complain about too much AI, oddly enough. And you can check out Jen Weaver's new podcast, AV Career Mastermind, with Joey Lloyd. And as of today, October 18th, my good friend Chris Neto's the birthday boy, because today is his birthday, and he's 50. I just want to point that out there. Mr. Neto turns 50 today, so he is no longer younger than me. So you can check those both out as well. Also, if you are watching this and you are tired of looking at my big dumb face and you just want to hear my voice, you can check this out over on wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever. And if you're listening to the podcast and you want to see what these fine folks look like, you can watch it over on YouTube. So either way, go to the other area as well. So thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That is all the time we have for AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
Hello, this is Steve Greenblatt, host of AVNation's A State of Control podcast. Each month, Rich Fregosa and I explore trending topics related to control programming and automation in the audiovisual industry. We speak with a variety of AV professionals who share their perspectives, knowledge, and experiences. Please join us for this monthly conversation. Check out A State of Control on avnation.tv or wherever you get your podcasts.
This is AVNation.